Hey guys, welcome to the KH Director initial setup video. In this 3-part series, we're going to show you how to connect and set up your KH Director for the first time. To start off part 1 of this video, we're first going to cover the basics. We'll cover details such as what each connector is used for, how to power on the KHD, how to connect a PAB cable to your KHD, then finish up by showing you how to assign the KHD to your primary device. To get started, unpack the contents of the KH Director set box and place them on a smooth, clean surface. Inside your box you will find a KH Director, KHD reagent bottle, KHD pH probe, pH 4 and 7 calibration fluids, a pack of silicone tubing, a pack of flex PVC tubing, KHD water sample filter, a doser 2.1 standalone or slave unit, a PAB cable for connecting the doser to the KHD, and a power supply splitter cable. For the initial setup, you will need a measuring instrument such as a graduated cylinder or measuring cup. This will be used for calibrating the dosing pump heads that will be used to run the KHD. You will also need a container for collecting the KHD's wastewater. If you purchased a standalone KHD set, the included PAB cable will be all you need to connect these devices together. If you purchased a slave KHD set, you will need an additional PAB cable. This second PAB cable will allow you to physically connect the KHD and doser set to your Proflux controller or standalone doser. With the KHD set unpacked, let's go over the connections and ports found on the KH Director. Looking at the back of the unit, you have the 24-volt power port, BNC connector port for the KHD probe, connector for the vent/emergency drain, an auxiliary port for future expansion options, and 2 PAB ports. These PAB ports are used for connecting the KHD and doser together. As you were going through the contents of your KHD box, you may have noticed that your KH Director did not come with its own power supply. Instead, it came with a power supply splitter cable. This cable will be used to connect the KH Director and doser to the 24-volt power supply that belongs to the doser itself. In other words, both the KHD and doser share the same 24-volt power supply. At the front of the KH Director, you have 3 connectors. First, you have the water sample inlet, which is used for feeding the KHD a sample of your aquarium water. The reagent inlet is where the reagent is fed into the KHD during a KH test. The wastewater outlet is where water is pulled out of the KHD after a test is completed. Looking at the right side of the KHD, you'll find the probe port for connecting the KHD probe. So now that we've explained the purpose of each port, let's power on both devices and connect the PAB cable to each device. Start by taking the power supply splitter cable and connecting the Y ends to the KH Director and doser. Once that's done, connect the tail end of the cable to the 24-volt power supply. Make sure you connect only the KH Director and doser to this 24-volt power supply. Next, take the PAB cable and connect one end to the KH Director and the other end to the doser. If you have a KHD standalone set, take the one PAB cable that was included in the box and connect it to the KHD and doser. If you have a KHD slave set and a primary device such as a Proflux controller or standalone doser, take the one PAB cable that was in the box and connect it to the KHD and doser. Take the second PAB cable and connect one end to either the KHD or doser. Take the other end of the second cable and connect it to your primary device. Now that both the KHD and doser are powered on and connected with a PAB cable, the next step will be to connect to your standalone doser or Proflux controller using the GHL Connect app. Using your phone or tablet, open up the Google Play Store or Apple Store and do a search for GHL Connect. Once you've found the app, download it and open it up. You will be greeted by the initial setup screen. Follow the on-screen prompts until you get to the My Devices page. If you have a slave KHD set, you can go ahead and connect to your primary device. If you have a standalone KHD set, connect to your doser's hotspot network by using your phone or tablet to search for nearby Wi-Fi networks. you will see the GHL Doser 2 hotspot signal. Select it and wait for your phone or tablet to connect. Once connected, go back into the app. Press Add Device, select the Doser 2, then press Next. Leave this page as is and press Next. Type in the name you want to give to this Doser's connection. We're going to call it KHD. Press Done. When this message pops up, press Continue Offline. Your new connection will now be listed. Select it to connect. Seeing the dashboard means you are officially connected to your primary device. For those that have a standalone KHD set, the next step for you will be to set the time, date, and time zone. Press the menu icon and select General. Set the time and date, then set the time zone based on your location. These settings will allow the KHD to show you the correct date and times of each test. If you wish to set an audible alarm, you can do so here. If you want an audible alarm, but only within a certain time range, you can also set that up here. If you wish to set up a PIN code, you can do that here. Once you're done entering all the information, press Save. The next step will be to assign the KHD to your primary device. If you have a slave KHD set, you will also assign the slave doser. Press the menu icon and select System. Press Assign and configure connected PAB devices. Then press Assign Devices. You will now see a list of devices that have been detected by your primary device. Select the KHD. If you have a slave KHD set and are also adding a slave doser, select that too. Press Save, then confirm by pressing Yes. Your devices have now been assigned. If you have a slave KHD set, reconnect to your primary device and go back to the PAB settings page. We must now assign the pump numbering of this newly added slave doser. Press the blue gear icon to the right of the doser and set the starting number of this dosing unit. For example, if your primary device is a standalone doser 2.1, the numbering for those pumps are already assigned to dosing channels 1 through 4. By adding a second doser 2.1, the numbering of this doser should be set to begin at dosing pump channel number 5. That way, your main doser controls dosing channels 1 through 4, and your second doser controls dosing channels 5 through 8. Press Save, and the pump numbering will be complete. That concludes part 1 of the KHD initial setup video. In part 2, we will show you how to connect the tubing and water sample filter to the KH director. We will also show you how to calibrate the dosing pump heads that will be used by the KHD. If you have any questions about this video or any GHL product, feel free to contact us on any one of our support channels.